Look at this guy. This isn't even like BM. If this was like any other player, you'd be like, oh, he's being BM because he won. But it's Demuslim, and he's like the nicest guy in StarCraft that you see most of the time, excluding conversations with one particular other Terran player. But kind of cool to see him just like, I won. Let me help out this guy. At any rate, guys, this is game number 2 in this best of 3. It's WCS qualifiers. I hope you guys are pretty stoked. There's some really good players in the brackets, and just kind of like half eyes on the brackets and half eyes on the introduction here real quick. There's some favorites, and I want to remind you all, this is like the last like closed off Europe-centric with very strict rules way to qualify. The next and last qualifier is the ladder wildcard qualifier. At any rate, spawning here in the southern location on a merry-go-round is going to be the blue Terran player from property, Gillon.
In the top left, as the purple Terran, is EG's Demuslim.
But no, he's spilling some truths, guys. He's dropping the real talk. It's, I mean, that's why the medevacs become so much more powerful. The Hellion production early on, whether you're going mech or whether you're going bio, 2 at a time is the most you can do. You can't afford that second factory or second reactor, and even if you do off of 1 base, much less 2, it's not going to be at a time where you can really afford to make 4 Hellions at once.
Yeah. So now you guys know how to defend it. Learning.
It doesn't make it any easier knowing how to do it. This is, of course, something you do have to put into practice. But I encourage you guys, if you're Terran players on ladder and you've lost to this, it took me a while to learn how to fend it off myself. But Demuslim is not wrong. Like, the biggest thing too is with the Reaper. He scouted, maybe not the exact course of action, but when you see the command center coming down, when you see the non-second gas, you kind of have a feel for what's going to go on. I mean, most common gas time is like what, 17 if you don't take it earlier than that. I want to say 13, 17. Those two are kind of like the, I don't know, the magic numbers. Is that about right?
I guess so.
I mean, I don't know how you want to phrase them more than that. Those are just like the 2 common ones. And if you don't scout it at one, and you don't scout it at the other, you can have a good feel that's not going to be Banshees. And there's only one other real option.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think he got close enough to scout both gases either. So that was also a problem. He could have thought that it was not exactly his build, because of course he doesn't get the Reapers, but like close to his build. But anyways, so the problem, so like knowing how to defend it, you just defend like the first idea of the attack, which is the frontal attack, and then if there is a bunker, if there's a wall off, they don't commit as heavily, and they try and do shenanigans with the medevac inside the main, and that's a whole nother problem they have to deal with. But it's definitely better than just dying straight up.
Oh, the Muslim's SUV gets over here, doesn't actually die to the Reaper. So expecting the Reaper to catch it on the way out, but second Reaper, oh, actually just killed off the SUV, missed first blood, my bad, but gets over here, sees the double barracks opening. This is, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of double barracks openers in TVT. I mean, you rarely see much come from it, but almost gets one of the Reapers, does get one of the Reapers, so I guess ends up being worth it in the end. Good control there out of the Muslim.
Yeah, very good control. You needed to go double racks after the initial command center, because it was just waiting for a factory. If Reapers come, the Reapers can deal so much damage, especially the 2 Reapers that Gillon has shown that he prefers. Now, if Gillon goes, and he will go for the Hellions, it can be a little tricky to hold. You can see the Muslim already placing his guys not like anywhere but the front, where you can get that initial damage off on Hellions that try and go up the ramp.
Yeah. Actually, it's really funny too, because you'll see a lot of the times too, even if it's not here, but more at the actual main choke too, Hellions will come by and they want to just duck in real quick, but oh, surprise, it's 6 Marines in your face.
Right, exactly. You need a bunker when you open like this. I mean, I've had games where people don't go bunkers and if they're 14 CCing into this, and it's just like, okay, you get up with Reapers, you get up with 6 Hellions, and they die pretty quickly, especially if you follow up with a Banshee. But of course, the Muslim just talked about needing a bunker, knows when to get one, yo.
I think one of the big things too is people really undervalue the way Hellions are controlled. Like, you look at a Hellion swarm, you're like, oh, he just got 50 hits. What a good Hellion control. But like, these are units, especially whether it's early game versus bio, whether it's Hellions versus Hellions, positioning is really key, because they have a really slow attack, but their splash is really long. So you have to make sure you get that right positioning, because there's no point in wasting 4 volleys on 1 Marine.
Gillon not even trying to see what's up that ramp. You could poke with a Reaper and get out in enough time to save it. believe it or not. And the Muslim kind of worried that the opening is different. You know, he doesn't get scouting with the openers that he's doing. That's kind of the fault of it. So if there was like a really fast Banshee, the Muslim might have been in trouble. He
Oh,
just
that
scan, I think.
turret's... I actually like that turret too. There's a lot of times you put the one in the mineral line and it doesn't cover the vision of everything else. You'll see the one Banshee just poke and harass at reactors, tech labs, supply depots, free kills, so to speak. But even if this doesn't provide the actual physical range of the turret, with enough Marines, the detection is here.
Gillon not going for a Banshee. Could go for a Banshee after this Viking. Yeah, really wanted to get that out. And it's useful when you go mech sometimes. And he is going mech. That second factory was scouted by the Muslim. Probably going to be for that fast blue flame. Gillon seemed to like it. A Reaper gets in here, tries to scout. Sees a lot of Marines.
That's kind of scary to look at as well. That is a lot of Marines to have this early. Now granted, if done correctly, again, Hellions versus this many Marines, hit and run tactics, not sit and fight tactics, can beat these out, but he's going to look to wait for blue flame once again.
We can't go up against that ramp. It's just... it provides too much constant damage. You know, they're pretty much never going to break the bunker, and maybe the bunker with 4 Marines doesn't do that much damage, but it's constant damage that you can't get rid of. So he does have to back off, and it's not too bad. It's not like these guys' openers actually depend on doing damage a lot of the time. Well, the Muslim just happens to do damage.
Well,
so
one of the things too is, I mean, going to mech and TVT, even if you're going like massive Hellions and Vikings instead of the siege tank style, one of the scary things is like you can still get overwhelmed by a bio player. The advantage is they're gonna have a lot more units most of the time, but the Muslim actually down in army supply is a little bit scary coming forward.
the Muslim going forward like this is, you're right, pretty scary because a lot of it is Marines. So Gillon should have left a Hellion outside to see this attack coming because you need, as you said before, you need to hit and run. You can't just take the engagement on the front. Now, you still probably can because Blue Flame is going to be very effective against
this
Marines.
hit and run, even without that Blue Flame, that's still so much bio, but still sitting in the fights.
Well, he's missing a lot of those Hellions right there.
Yeah, and what's nice too though is like, if you get enough of the Marines dead, even the Marauders are not that scary. They might not take bonus damage from the Hellions, but they also don't deal bonus damage to the Hellions. So the Muslim forced to pick up and get out of here. And even, yeah, as I said, Marauder goes down. But the Vikings actually catch that medevac. Ooh, Gillon, where did those come from?
I didn't like that push out at all from the Muslim. It was kind of getting fancy footwork in the middle right there, but even then, it was not worth it. Still has that bunker, still probably has enough to hold, but now Gillon can, stay pretty comfy, especially with the Viking control, to do a contain. Now, it's going to be a light contain because Hellions, they're not siege tanks. That's really where contains come down to, but eventually Gillon should produce tanks.
Well, the nice thing is for the Muslim, with this bunker up, the Hellions can't just straight push in to win, but they can run right past it. There's really not a lot to block this out. Autoturret is going to come down to draw the fire. This is, of course, an attention-grabbing move. This allows the Hellions to get in, and the Vikings, seeing no anti-air, will probably just end up landing, joining the fight here in a sec. Yep, there we go, landing on the ground. But the SCV's trying to repair this bunker. Gonna focus those down, getting so many SCV kills with this Blue Flame splash. However, loses everything on the front lines. 12 SCVs dead, doesn't break the bunker. GG.